great news! With Trinidad Fresh, you get 70% real fruit juice, and it's available in fruit punch, orange, and apple.
Trinidad Fresh.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome to C Results. Thank you for joining me. I'm Miss Nyla, and I will be taking you through the next hour for ELA today. So as you know, with ELA, we are just about finished with all the rules for subject-verb agreement that we may need to know up until this point. And also, it has been quite a lot of rules that we covered. So guys, you know, I want you to not only use it, watch it here and call us in to give us answers, but actually practice it in your writing and in your spare time, okay? It's really important, and it's going to benefit you not only now, but of course in the future when you have writing or, you know, bigger projects to work on and so on, right? All of that is important. So what we are going to do, like I said yesterday, we are going to do some revision of the subject-verb agreement rules that we covered. And so far, we have been doing reinforcement exercises after each rule. So we're just going to do like a couple questions, and then we're going to move on with our new topic for today. And just to mention, we are coming close also to the end of this task 3 in section 1, the grammatical errors. So we're just about wrapping up those topics there that we need to learn and whatever else we may need to discuss in them. And then we're going to soon be moving on to probably poetry or comprehension. So I'm yet to decide which one I should do first, but we will be doing all, or trying to at least touch on all before the SAE exam, so that, you know, you have a fair idea, you know, what is required of you in answering questions, not only for poetry, but for comprehension and in the graphic as well, right? So make sure and look out for that. So yesterday, we finished all those rules, and now we are just going to revise, do a little revision, you know, test your knowledge, see how much you remember, and put it into practice. So we're going to put the numbers up on the screen. You can start calling us and helping us to complete these sentences. Right? So feel free to call as many times as you like, as I know some of you usually do, right? And we welcome that. Also, I just want to say a special welcome to those of you, of course, on our Facebook Live, whether it's the C Results page or IBN TV page, right? And just to note, we currently have quizzes up on the Edmodo app this week for mathematics, ELA, and creative writing. So be sure to complete those as well, right? So we already have a call on the line, so I'm going to take this call and get things started off, right? Good evening, call, and welcome to C Results.
Hi, evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Nicholas.
Yes, Nicholas. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, so number 1. What is the answer there?
Boxes of spoons are on the table because collective nouns, right? There's a rule 7, that's how I know it. All collective nouns, right?
Yes.
You see how they have boxes of spoons?
Yeah.
Right? You always look at the collective noun. You don't look at like spoons and etc. Then you look at the collective form of it. And
very good.
Boxes is plural, so you use a plural verb.
Great job, Nicholas. Well done as usual. So he is correct there, and this is our collective noun. And just to summarize what he said, this is actually a plural collective noun, so hence the reason we use a plural verb. If it was a singular collective noun, we would choose a singular verb. So great job, Nicholas.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
We have another call on the line. Good evening, call, and welcome to C Results. Okay, I think we lost that one there, right? So let's go on to number 2. So as you will notice here, it's actually a mix of questions and not like what we usually do. So if we cover the rules here, collective nouns, I would usually test the collective nouns rule. But here we are doing a series of mixed questions. Good evening, Connor. Welcome to C Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Josiah.
Nice to have you with us. What do you think is the answer for number 2?
If I was.
If I was. Why do you say was?
Because I learned was and were when I was in school.
Right.
That's how like if you use were because it don't have no plural, so
Right.
you just use was.
Okay. So thank you so much for your call. Right. And I want everyone to pay attention here. While this is not totally incorrect, what we did learn, however, when we are using the subject pronoun I, once it is followed by if, we will say if I were. Right? So yes, it is correct to say I was, but if it follows, if the subject pronoun I follows if, then we should say if I were you. Okay? So if you said was in the classroom, maybe it's not going to be totally wrong, but I just want you to be, mindful of this rule that I gave in particular, right? And it says again, once the subject pronoun I is after if, you use a plural verb. Okay, good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, what's your name?
Sonia.
Nice to have you with us. So we're on to number 3 here. What is the answer for number 3?
The answer is need.
Need or needs? Need. You are correct. Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution there. Guys, just remember when you're calling us, remember to lower the volume on the television sets, okay? And for number 3 here, you need to rest. So after the subject pronouns I and you, we require a singular verb. So she remembered that and she applied that there, so excellent job. We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
What's your name?
January.
Nice to have you with us. What is the answer for number 4?
She investigate
S,
the matter.
S or no S?
S.
S. Excellent job. Can you tell me the rule here? How did you know to choose investigate rather than investigate? Or you just make a choice or guess?
I just guess.
All right. Okay. No problem with that. Thank you so much for calling. Right, guys? So I'm just going to tell you the rule here. And it's actually a singular subject is followed by a singular verb. And we know that singular verbs end in S. Now, yes, you can guess and you might get it correct, but you have to be 100% sure, especially for the SEA exam. I don't want you to guess or, incorrectly and you are afforded a mark or 2 marks less, okay? So please take the time, revise the rules, and apply it, right? So great job there. We have some more questions here. We are continuing. So looking at number 5 here. A bouquet of flowers was a word given to mommy, right? So look at your subject carefully, right? It's along the lines. This rule here is actually along the lines, that our first caller, Nicholas, called in and gave us, okay, that great explanation. We have a call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Hi, this is Nicholas again.
Yes, Nicholas.
Yeah, so number 5. A bouquet of flowers was given to mommy.
Was a word? Was. And tell me why?
Because rules are collective nouns, right?
Yeah.
So always look at the collective noun to see if it's plural or singular. And if it's singular, you use a singular verb. And if it's plural, you use a plural.
Great job, Nicholas. So thank you so much for your call once more. Right, so he is correct here. And if we look at this collective noun, it's a bouquet of flowers. So yes, the noun here, flowers, is actually plural, but you actually have to look at the entire collective noun. And it says a bouquet of flowers. So that's only one bouquet. So it is followed by a singular verb. So great job. Number 6. Either the mangoes or the plums was a word left on the table for you. And I have a call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Hanikwa Rausho.
Great to have you with us today. What do you think is the answer for number 6? Were. Do you know the rule here?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us?
Singular subject, singular verb, same user.
Right, but what is the singular subject here?
Either.
Either, but it says either the mangoes or the plums. Both of them are actually plural. Right, so either or. Yes, it's either or, but both of your subjects are either the mangoes or the plums were left. So, okay, so thank you so much for your call. And I'm just going to take a second to explain this rule here. So, when we have either or, and your subjects are both plural, it will take a plural verb. And if both of your subjects are singular, it will take a singular verb. But if it is one subject here is actually plural and the other is singular, we look at the second subject or the subject closer to the verb next to it, okay, to decipher which verb to use. So while this answer is correct here, you also need to know that both mangoes and plums is actually singular in this case. I'm not singular, sorry, plural. Right? So thank you so much for that. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening,
Hi, what's your name?
Dominique.
Nice to have you with us, Dominique. We're looking at number 7 here. What do you think is the answer?
Likes.
Like or likes?
Because neither nor is singular and likes and a singular subject has to have a singular verb and likes is singular because it has a S.
Very good. Great job there. Thank you so much for that call and explanation. So if we look here, so neither nor here and either or, right? We're still on the same rule. We're answering questions or sentences here on the same rule. We have neither the cat, singular, nor the dog. Both of them are actually singular, and we choose a singular verb to agree with the subjects. And yes, our singular verbs end in S, right, guys? So all of this here is actually the same rule, 6, 7, and 8. Same rule, so you need to apply it differently. We have another caller there. Good evening, caller, and welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
This is Soniqua there, and
Okay.
the answer is sing.
Sing or sings? S or no S?
S.
S. Tell me why.
Because neither, because it's a singular.
What is singular? What is it? What are the subjects in the sentence?
The girl,
Right.
the children.
Right. Don't go as yet. So the girl here, yes, the subject is singular, so you are correct here. But the children, is children singular or plural?
Plural.
Plural. Right? So in this case, we have a singular subject and we have a plural subject. So in this case, what we have to do in order to choose the correct verb, we have to look at the subject, which is the children, closest to the verb. So the children sing or sings in church.
Sing.
Sing, right? So thank you so much for your call, and I'm going to explain this to everyone. So thank you so much for that. So what I want to say here, guys, and I'm just going to explain this over. So I'm going back to number 6, because number 6, 7, and 8 applies to the same, to the expressions either or neither nor. If you're looking at number 6, we have either the mangoes or the plums. Mangoes here, the subject mangoes is plural. And then we have the plums, which is also plural. So both of your subjects in this sentence are actually plural. So then it will be followed by a plural verb. Now that's fine. But if you look at number 7, neither the cat nor the dog likes to play. How did we know to choose a singular verb likes? The cat here is singular. The dog is also singular. So then, therefore, we will need a singular verb. Notice the difference here. Both of your subjects in this case are plural. Both of your subjects in this sentence, number 7, are singular. But number 8, we have a singular subject here. The girl is one, that's singular. But then we have nor the children. Now, do not be confused by nor the children. You know that children, it's a plural noun. So this is plural. So here you have one singular subject and you have a plural subject. So to decipher or, to determine whether to choose sing or sings, you have to look at the subject closest to the verb. And the children here is closest to the verb. So the children will sing and not sings, because a plural subject takes a plural verb. And I hope that clears that up for our last caller, right? And in case you missed that episode, guys, don't worry. You can go back on YouTube and, of course, on Facebook via our C Results page and rewatch those videos, right? Look at those rules carefully and pay attention, right? So look at the examples that we provide for you and then write some of those yourself or get an exercise from your grammar text or whatever it is and do some practice, right? Okay, we are still continuing here. We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Good evening.
Hi. Do you mind lowering the volume on the television set, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on to number 9 here. What is the answer for number 9? Caller, are you there? Yes. Caller, are you there?
The answer is
Ah, okay. And how did you know to choose ah?
because knives are plural.
Knives are plural. But this is not like the last question that we did where we look at the last subject. Okay, so thank you so much for your call and listen to my explanation off here, right? So guys, look at this sentence here. The forks, unlike the knives, are wrapped in napkins. So this here actually applies to the rule of intervening phrases. So this here, unlike the knives, is like additional information. Your subject is actually the forks. So yes, the subject is plural and knives is also plural. We are not focusing on unlike the knives. That is additional information to the sentence. So it should actually be the forks are wrapped in napkins. And that's an easy way for you to read it and to figure out your answer. This here, unlike the knives, or if, for instance, we had the phrase accompanied by the children or along with her friends, any of those are called accompanying or intervening phrases, right? So we actually look at the subject here. If, for instance, we had the fork, unlike the knives, then your answer would have been is, right? Because it would have been the fork is wrapped in napkins. Okay, so let's be mindful of that and not to confuse it with the previous rule with neither nor. Right? We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Hi, this is Nicholas again.
Hi, Nicholas. What's the answer here?
The answer for number 10 is much of the rice was spoiled because one of the rules, right?
Yeah.
Nouns that are countable must be followed by a plural verb, and nouns that is
the nouns that are uncountable. Excellent, Nicholas. Right? So great job there. So he is correct. You're welcome. So he is correct here. Much of the rice. This is uncountable, right? So we know it's uncountable. This is one of the rules we covered yesterday. And we know it's uncountable, so it is followed, therefore, by a singular verb. We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
What's your name?
Zahir.
Nice to have you, Zahir. So we're on to number 11. What is the answer there? Ah. Tell me why you chose ah. Did you?
I'm mistaken. It was
Is.
Subject.
All right. So are you sure? Are you guessing here? Zahir?
I'm sure.
You are sure. Did you look at yesterday's episode of grammar or ELA?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to explain this to you off air, okay? So pay attention, right? Well, thank you so much for your call. So, okay, guys, look at number 11. All except Irfan, the correct answer is actually are, right? All except Irfan are present today. Yesterday we learned that the expressions all except or all but is followed by a plural verb, right? So all except Irfan are present today. Again, I'm going to say that after the expressions all except or all but, right? So after all but or all except, it is followed, the verb must be plural. So if I said all but Irfan or all except Irfan, it will still remain as, well, the answer will still be a plural verb, right? So Zahir, please, I urge you to go back and look at yesterday's video. We discussed number 10 and number 11 rule there as well, right? So thank you. We have a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to C Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Antonio George.
Nice to have you with us, Antonio. So we're on to number 11. What is the answer here?
Was.
Was. Do you know the rule?
Need the neither of
Yeah.
take a plural, singular verb.
Excellent job. You are quite correct. So thank you so much for your call. So caller was correct there, but also if we had either of, right? So whether it's either of or neither of, it follows or it must take a singular verb, right? So neither of the officers was at work today. So that's the end of the call segment for now, guys, right? I know we have some more eager callers, but I'm going to open up the line shortly again when we have our next exercise. So that's basically it for subject-verb agreement. And from this exercise here, I can see that, you know, some students are still having problems. But fear not, you still have some time. Go back and, you know, refresh your memory or learn these rules over and do the practice. That's the only way you are going to perfect that or all of these rules as a matter of fact. Right? So we're moving on now to pronouns. Now, pronouns, we know, we looked at a couple of pronouns while we were doing the sample exercises, like what you get in your SEA paper. Now, we touched on reflexive pronouns, and we probably touched on subject pronouns a little bit. But in pronouns, we have a lot, actually, to cover, right? So we are going to be looking at the entire topic of pronouns. And believe it or not, while it seems very simple, a lot of students, you know, understandably make mistakes here, and here now is your chance for you to rectify those mistakes or, you know, to identify with what is the problem that you are having here. So let's go on to pronouns. We know that a pronoun is a word used to replace a noun in a sentence, right? So that's previous knowledge. Pronouns are used so repetition of the same noun can be avoided. For example, I came across a student on the Edmodo while completing the creative writing assignment. That person kept saying the character's name. So for instance, Michelle, right? So each sentence, the person gave the name of the character. Instead of saying the name Michelle about 5 times in your entire piece, you know, or even more for some of you, use your pronouns, okay? Use your subject pronouns to help you or to replace, right, and to avoid repetition of nouns. And we're going to look at that shortly to see how you can do that. There are 7 different types of pronouns, and each has a specific function in a sentence. So that's correct. We are going to be looking at 7 different types of pronouns. So make sure and take note of each type. But first, we must examine or must recognize what are the 7 types that we are going to be looking at. We have personal, which includes subject and object. We have reflexive, demonstrative, indefinite, possessive, interrogative, and relative. And from out of these 7, we looked at subject, we looked at reflexive, and touched a bit on possessive, right? So far, we did not go into depth in any one of these types, so that's what we are about to do today. So let's begin with subject pronouns. Personal pronouns, like we said, which include subject and object pronouns, can be the subject can be the subject of a clause or sentence, right? The subject of a sentence is the doer of the person, place, thing, or idea that is doing, right? So your subject of a sentence, again, is the doer of your sentence, right? And then we have your subject pronouns. And you should know all of your subject pronouns and be able to recognize them. You know, the second you see it, you know, well, this is a subject pronoun and that is an object pronoun. You have to know the difference. So you have I, he, she, it, they, we, you, right? All of these are subject pronouns, right? For example, you have your sentence here. She hesitated to give back the trophy. She is your subject pronoun. She is a doer in this sentence. She is the person who is hesitating to give back the trophy, right? So this is simple enough. What is tricky about it is identifying your subject pronouns and learning them off. And it's going to become easier once you identify your object pronouns. You're going to see the difference, and that's going to help you, you know, to realize what are the differences between your subject and your object pronouns. So we have 4 short sentences here, and from these sentences, you can call us, give us your answer here. What I want you to do, replace the subject of your sentence with a subject pronoun, right? So just as I was saying, we replace Miss Shelley with a subject pronoun. That's what we are going to do here, right? So in the box above, I made it very easy for you. And you have all your subject pronouns here. What you have to do is just simply choose the correct subject pronoun to replace the subject of your sentence. So if you look at number 1, Dad and I made breakfast this morning.
Fuels are burnt to generate electricity, and so if we can cut down the use, we will also cut down the amount of pollution we create.
Recycle and reuse things. This will minimize the dependence of producing new things. Remember,
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to C Results. So I just want to apologize, we just had some minor technical difficulties there, but we are back up and we are ready to work. Right, so just before that happened, we were looking at and we started the topic of pronouns. Now, we are starting with subject pronouns, and we said that, I'm just recapping here, right, for the benefit of everyone. We said that personal pronouns can be the subject of a clause or a sentence. And when we say personal pronouns, we refer to subject and object pronouns. The subject of a sentence is the doer of the person, place, thing, or idea that is doing or being something, right? And then we have all the subject pronouns for you right here. So I, he, she, it, they, we, you. We have 7 subject pronouns that you must learn. And I gave the example, she hesitated to give back the trophy, right? She here, if you want to give this person a name, for instance, Maya, and we said Maya hesitated to give back the trophy. So if I had Maya, right, and I wanted to replace the subject Maya with a subject pronoun, I can just simply say she. She hesitated to give back the trophy. She here is the doer of the sentence. She is the person who is hesitant in this case. So okay, so just 1 second there. We had some, okay. So we'll come back to that slide with the subject pronouns activity. So now we're just going to move on to object pronouns. Object pronouns indicate the receiver of the action. They usually come after verbs and prepositions. So this is important to note here. Right? They usually come after verbs and prepositions. And we have for you listed here are object pronouns. Me, her, him, it, you, them, us, right? All your object pronouns here. We also have 7 object pronouns, just as we have 7 subject pronouns. So by now, from getting the first glance at it, I hope you are realizing, which are your object pronouns and which are your subject pronouns, right? For example, Omar gave the gift to David, right? We can say Omar gave it to him, replacing the noun, right? The gift or gift with the object pronoun it. And if we wanted to replace the object of a sentence to David, who is receiving or the receiver of the action, we can say him, right? Omar gave it to him. And if we want to go one step further and even change the subject here, Omar, to a subject pronoun, we can even say he gave it to him, right? So that's the idea we want or trying to get across to you here, to replace your subject and your object of your sentence with subject or object pronouns. So right here we have a couple sentences, and what you have to do, you have to read that sentence and choose the suitable object pronoun. Now in brackets here you will see he or him. Now which of these is actually your object pronoun, you have to know. This is an object pronoun exercise, so we are selecting object pronouns, right guys? So be mindful of that. And I'm just going to go back for 1 second, just for the benefit of everyone, if you want to take a quick glimpse, right, of the object pronouns here. So when you start calling, the numbers are going to be up on your screen. When you start calling, you know what are your object pronouns, right? So again, me, her, him, it, you, them, us, right? So feel free to call us and give us your contribution here. Read the sentences in the meanwhile and try to figure out the answers. Now looking at number 1, can it be he or him? Which of these is actually your object pronoun, right? Number 2, it appears to be they or them who are calling I or me. Number 3, they gave we or us a hint. Number 4, Ria owes she or her some money. Dad buys. And number 5 here is a bit different because I actually want you to put in your object pronouns to me here, right? So you can choose whichever object pronouns you like. Of course, it must be suitable and complete this sentence. Right, guys? So I'm going to get started on number 1 while we await some callers. So number 1, can it be he or him? Now, if you are not sure, what can you do? And if you have written it down while I was explaining to you, now that will be great, right? And if you know it off the top of your head also, that is even better. And just for the sake of those who probably, didn't see this in a while or haven't used your object or subject pronouns like we are doing here, it's listed right here for you, okay? So me, her, him, it, you, them, us. So which here will be your answer? Can it be he or him? Right, guys? So you will know that your object pronoun in this case is actually him, right? So can it be him? Your answer will be him. I'm just going to underline it, right? What about number 2? It appears to be they or them who are calling I or me. Again, be careful when you are choosing your object pronouns not to choose a subject pronoun rather than an object pronoun. And I'm just going to go back again for the benefit of everyone, right? And I see I have a call on the line, so I'm going to take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
What's your name?
Micah George.
Hi, Micah. So we're on to number 2. What are the answers here for number 2?
It appears to be them who
Them.
are calling me.
Them who are calling me.
Me.
So your answers are correct, right? So thank you so much for calling, right? And you're welcome. So again, just referring back to this list here, right? We have them and we have me, right? Both your answers are correct. We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Yeah. Hello?
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Zahir.
Hi, Zahir. We're on to number 3. What is the answer for number 3?
Number 3 is us.
Us, so right? So let's see if us is on this list. Yes, it is, right? So you are correct. They gave us a hint, not they gave we a hint, okay, guys? So also practice this in your speech when you are talking or whatever conversation you are having, whether it's home, at school, or wherever you are. We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Hello,
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Nathaniel.
Hi, nice to have you with us. What is the answer for number 4?
Ria owes her some money.
Yes, right? Ria owes her some money, right? And just in case you are not sure, anyone at home is not sure, go back to your list and you will see that her is an object pronoun. So thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. So I'm going to take this final call to finish up number 5. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Hello.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Antonia George.
Antonia. Number 5. What object pronouns will you put in the blank spaces here? That buys. Yes.
I will put that buys them. I mean buys a gift for me.
Right. But we want to choose, just as we did here, Umar gave it to him, right? So we want to put in, just as we have it here, we want to do something like that, right, for this activity. So if you want to say that buys a gift, and, sorry.
Hello?
Yeah. Just 1 second. So that buys a gift for me. So me is correct here, but if you want to replace the noun a gift, right, with an object pronoun, right, what will you say?
That buys it for me.
It for me. You are correct, right? So thank you so much for calling. So we can also say that buys a gift for me, which is fine, or we can say that buys it for me. Either is correct, right? So thank you so much for calling. Right. Okay. So we're just going to pause on the calls for a little bit and move on to reflexive pronouns. So far we covered subject pronouns, we looked at object pronouns, and now we're on to reflexive pronouns. Now, what do you know about reflexive pronouns? Right? What comes to mind when you hear the word reflexive or reflexive pronouns? What do you think of? Right? So as you know, reflexive pronouns end in self or selves. So whether it's singular or plural, that would depend on the subject of the sentence. Right? They are object pronouns that we use when the subject and the object are the same noun. So I'm going to say that again. They are object pronouns that we use when the subject and the object are the same noun. Right? And we're going to look at some sentences shortly, and you will understand that probably a little better if you don't already. So you can say myself, himself, herself, themselves, itself, yourself, yourselves, ourselves, right? So myself, himself, herself, yourself, itself, all are singular, right? You will say themselves, yourselves, or ourselves in the plural form or plural subjects. So here we have 5 sentences, and we are going to use reflexive pronouns to complete these 5 sentences, right? So when we say they are object pronouns that we use when the subject and the object are the same noun. If you look at number 1, I, your subject here, did not know the answer to the question, right? So which reflexive pronoun will you use here when you're using the subject pronoun I? So I, something, did not know the answer to the question. So the numbers are up on your screen. Call us and give us your answers. Let's look at number 2. The baby hurt. We can have 2 answers here while playing, right? And we have a call on the line already. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Right, I have a call on the line already. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I am good.
Okay, what's your name?
Zahrali.
Okay, nice to have you with us. What is the answer for number 1? Which reflexive pronoun will you use?
I myself did
Yeah.
not know the answer to the question.
So you are correct, right? I myself, right? So you have your subject pronoun here and your reflexive pronoun. Myself did not know the answer to the question. So great job. Thank you so much for calling. All right. We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name? Good evening, caller. Are you there?
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Kelly Spencer.
Hi, Kaylee. So we're on to number 2. Which reflexive pronoun or which reflexive pronouns can you use for number 2?
Herself.
Herself. Or what else can we say?
Himself.
Himself. You are correct. So we can say either himself or herself because they did not tell us the gender of the baby. Right? So thank you so much for calling. The baby, you're welcome. The baby hurt him or herself while playing. Right, guys? We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Hi,
Hi, what's your name?
Antonio George.
Antonio George. So we're on to number 3. What is the answer here?
Themselves.
Self or selves?
Self.
Spell it for me.
THEMSELVS.
All right. Tell me why it's themselves. The boys wanted to go by themselves. The boys here is your subject of your sentence. Is the boys plural or singular?
Plural.
Plural. So if it's plural, what form of themselves will we have to use? Is it singular or plural?
Plural.
Plural. So what should it actually be?
Themselves.
Themselves or themselves?
Themselves.
Okay. So, okay, well, thank you so much for calling, and just listen to me off here while I explain this to you again, right? Okay. So, number 3 here, the boys wanted to go by themselves. Now, the boys here, we're looking at the subject of the sentence. The boys is actually plural, right? And it's actually themselves. Their reflexive pronoun must agree with your subject, right? So the boys wanted to go by themselves, which is plural as well. Themselves, right? We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Andrea George.
Hi, Andrea. What is the answer for number 4?
We want to buy chocolates for ourselves.
For our?
Self.
Spell it for me. Can you spell ourselves for me?
O
Yeah.
U R
Mm-hmm.
O U R
Yeah.
S E
Yeah.
L
LF. Why is it LF and not LVES? Look at the subject here. What is the subject here?
The subject.
Yeah.
We.
We. Is we singular or plural?
Plural.
Plural. So then therefore your reflexive pronoun supposed to be
Selves.
selves, right? So you are correct there. Right? So thank you so much for calling. And I just want to go back to the slide a second. Right? I want you to be mindful. And maybe next time I can do this probably a little differently where I can show the subject pronouns and the reflexive form, right? So you will notice themselves, yourselves, ourselves, right? All plural, right? And in this case, the subject is actually plural. So therefore, we should say themselves, right? We have another call on the line. Good evening, caller. Welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. What's your name? Hi, Maya. What is the answer for number 5?
Herself.
Herself. So you are correct, Maya. Thank you for calling. Right, so she herself wrote the beautiful poem. Right, so she here, again, your subject is singular. So your reflexive pronoun is singular in this case. She herself wrote the beautiful poem. So thank you, Maya. Right, so next day for ELA, what I will do, just to reiterate this point with reflexive pronouns, I will make the table a little differently and I can show you the subject, how it agrees with the reflexive pronoun and so on, right? So we're moving on now. I'm just going to pause on the callers there until the next activity is up, right? And we're going to continue with demonstrative pronouns. So when you hear the word demonstrative, what are you thinking about? Or even better, when you hear demonstrative pronouns, right? What comes to mind? So there are 5 demonstrative pronouns that we will be focusing on. These, those, this, that, such. Now, such here is one of, or a demonstrative pronoun that we don't always focus on. But I just thought that we can probably incorporate it so you can see the use of such as a demonstrative pronoun, right? So we usually use these, those, this, or that. Demonstrative pronouns identify someone or something. So this is important here. This is the use of a demonstrative pronoun, right? So it identifies someone or something. So let's see. Nouns do not follow demonstrative pronouns. Now this is important here, what I want to mention, right? We're going to look at something, demonstrative adjectives, and we're going to look at demonstrative pronouns, right? Because I don't want you all to get mixed up with both of them, right? So demonstrative pronouns, right? So nouns do not follow demonstrative pronouns. When a demonstrative pronoun precedes a noun, it becomes a demonstrative adjective. So let me just go back a second here. When a demonstrative pronoun precedes a noun, it becomes a demonstrative adjective. So that means when a demonstrative pronoun comes before the noun, right, then we said it is said to be a demonstrative adjective because we are saying nouns do not follow demonstrative pronouns. Therefore, demonstrative adjectives, right, you will have your demonstrative pronoun and then you will have a noun. And that's how you will be able to identify, right, whether it's a demonstrative pronoun or a demonstrative adjective. Now let's look at the examples here to help us understand. This is mine. Or you can have the sentence, those are the best. Both of these sentences here, do you think it's a demonstrative pronoun use or a demonstrative adjective, right? And if we're following the rule, this is mine, we have demonstrative pronoun this. You have is, which is a verb, and you have mine, right? So this is mine or those are the best. Demonstrative pronoun and it's followed by a verb. So let's focus what is following the demonstrative pronoun. In both of these sentences, a verb follows a demonstrative pronoun. So therefore, these are actually demonstrative pronouns. But let's look at the second example here. This book is mine or those flowers are beautiful. Now what's the difference here? You have your demonstrative pronoun, but then you have book. Book here is actually a noun. And then you have those, which is a demonstrative pronoun, and flowers is a noun. So which means these are demonstrative adjectives. Because if we go back to this line, nouns do not follow demonstrative pronouns. The first example, following the demonstrative pronoun, we have a verb. Following a demonstrative pronoun again, we have a verb. But in the second example, following a demonstrative pronoun, we have a noun. And following the demonstrative pronoun here, we also have a noun. Hence, making it a demonstrative adjective. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to pause there for today. And we are basically out of time. But don't go anywhere. We are coming back, probably a minute after 6 today to catch up on some creative writing. So you don't want to miss that. Next day for ELA, which is actually Monday again, we will come back to pronouns and we will continue this activity. All right, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Caribbean can be viewed on the go now with the Airlink TV app for Google devices. Simply go to the Google Play Store, search for the Airlink TV app. Download the app, click on the link and fill out the form. The account activation will be emailed or texted to the user. It's safe as no credit card is needed. The first 30 days are free and you can subscribe and receive a box for your TV to stream the same content.
For the everyday lowest prices on all grocery items, trust Low Cost Supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. Freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low Cost Supermarket, Southern Main Road, Cunupia.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to C Results. So you are now joining me for our creative writing session. And as traditional, on a Tuesday, we usually showcase students' work, right, from our Edmodo educational app, where students, who perform really well, and those pieces that probably need a little boost, right, we showcase them and we tell you how you can improve those pieces. In addition to that, of course, when we are marking the creative writing pieces, we also put comments there, right? So if you haven't already joined the Edmodo app, our Edmodo class, I urge you to do so now. And a little later on, I'm also going to show you how you can do that, right? Just in case you don't know. So what we are going to do now, last day, we basically looked at the emotions of a character. And we are on the topic of elements of a story. We are actually discussing narrative style writing. And in narrative style writing, there are elements to a story, right? So elements that every story should have to make it the best essay. So we already looked at setting. We are looking at character. Next, we'll move on to plot, conflict, and resolution. And we are to the end of character description. So far we looked at the physical description of human characters, as well as we looked at emotions associated with a human character, or at least some of the more popular emotions that we tend to use in our story. What we want to do today, we are just going to finish up emotions, and then we are going to move on to physical description, again with character, but this time for creatures, right? So like a monster in your story, or maybe a vampire, or whatever character that you have that is not human, we are going to look at some ways that we can describe that character. So I just want to show you here some of the emotions that we discussed last day, right? So we looked at someone who's concentrating or determined, right? How they might react, how they should behave. Somebody who's sympathetic or caring, relieved, after a long journey, or probably to the end of your story and you want to talk about relieved or whatever, or relief, you can use those expressions that we gave you to help you. Angry, aggressive, irritated, impatient, somebody who moves cold, right, gives you that cold shoulder maybe, evil, sly, arrogant, scared, frightened, or timid, pain, right, so somebody who is in pain, or somebody who's really tired, or a character who's excited or happy. And we also gave you, in addition to the sentences, we gave you some paragraphs as well, you know, how to incorporate it, to show you how you can incorporate that in a paragraph. So for the assignment on creative writing on the Edmodo app, you actually were given a task this week to look at the picture and describe the emotions of that character, right? So I'm just going to touch on that a little bit shortly because I noticed that some of you, yes, you are doing the assignment, but it's a bit short and vague. So I want to explain that to you a little better, right? So hold on for that. So I'm just going to read this paragraph to you here to complete this session on character emotion. We're going to read this paragraph and look out for the emotions that this character is experiencing here. So let's read this together. Right? She couldn't breathe. It felt as if someone was choking her. Her heart was racing, and all she wanted to do was curl up in a ball and wait for someone to save her. But no one would. No one was there. A muffled cry for help forced itself up her throat, and she felt a teardrop run down her cheek. She slowly clasped her hands and moved her lips silently in prayer. It seemed as if this was the end of the road for her. So from reading this paragraph here, what are some of the emotions that come to mind, you know, that this character is experiencing? Maybe somebody, you know, they probably in a difficult situation, probably is near death. And how do you think they are feeling, right? They're sad, they're desperate, you know, they're trying really hard to escape, but it's the end of the road for them, right? Nowhere to go. So you're out of hope, right? You're terrified. So from these lines here, you can tell how this character is feeling. And that's what we want you to do. In your writing, in your essay writing, when you are describing the emotions of a character, you do not necessarily have to take up an entire paragraph like what we have done here to describe how somebody is feeling. But you must, right, express emotion ever so often in your narrative style writing. And shortly, when we start, you know, critiquing pieces, looking at sample pieces, sorry, right, you're going to see how emotion is shown throughout your story. Not only when your character is in a difficult situation or your character is happy or whatever, you will give us a line to share that emotion, right? Emotion is something you must give throughout your essay, right? It gives us the personality, it helps us understand the character a little better. And as well, of course, putting ourselves in that story. So here now is basically the picture that we gave you for the Edmodo assignment, right? This picture, you will have to look at this picture and talk about the emotions of this character. So before you start doing that assignment, I want you to really take a minute, you know, look at each detail here, right? Really try to understand what is happening in this picture, interpret it as best as possible. Now, I'm trying not to give away all the answers here for the Edmodo assignment, but I will give you a sample piece, you know, how I would like it to be done. Because yes, they're saying he might be happy or excited, but tell us a little more, right? Talk about, if you would like also to talk about the physical description, give us one line on that, if you must, but do not, you know, make your entire paragraph about the physical description of this character. Remember, the task is to talk about the emotions of the character, right? You must discuss the emotions. Some of you also tend not to read the instructions carefully, and you stray a little bit from the topic. We already told you how important it is for you to stay on topic, especially in that creative writing. For essay exam, you're given a topic, and you do not write on that topic. Guys, I cannot tell you, but you will not be given complete marks. You may not even be given half the full amount of marks, right? So you have to be careful and stay on topic when you are writing about whatever is given. Okay, so I'm seeing there that it's already 8 minutes past 6, which means we have to take a pause. The Maghrib Adhan is coming up, and after that we'll be right back, you know, to continue with our creative writing. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back shortly. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, guys, and welcome back to C Results. So, just before the break, we were looking at this picture here, and we said that the assignment for creative writing this week on the Edmodo app is based on a scenario given, and then, of course, this picture is attached. Also, I should remind you, the picture isn't, there with the scenario. You actually have to click on the link given, and you will see the picture, right? So maybe some of you didn't see the pictures yet. So you can probably resubmit your assignment if you did not. It's actually based on a scenario. It's probably last day of school, or you just wrote the essay exam. You came out of that room, and how do you feel, right? So this probably depicts how that person is feeling. He maybe just wrote the essay exam, right? He came out of the exam room, and this is what he looks like. So picture yourself in that scenario. I know a lot of you are already picturing yourself when you come out of that exam room. How are you going to feel? How are you going to look? How are you going to behave, right? So that is the assignment for this week on Edmodo. So I want to give you a sample of what I expect. So we already looked at this, right? So keep this in mind when you are writing your paragraph. It was the last day of school, right? So this here, I'm not saying this is the one that just came out of the exam room. I just put in this paragraph that was the last day of school, right? But of course, you can rearrange and your words, of course, to suit however you want your scenario to be. It was the last day of school. Timothy could feel the tension escaping his body. He lowered his shoulders and uttered a sigh of relief. His face was lit up with a huge smile. His elation was almost unbearable. He spread his arms like a bird in the wind, let out a squeal of delight, and hopped up and down on the spot. Not his soul could have dampened his jubilant spirit. Timothy was over the moon, ecstatic to see what the summer breeze had in store for him, right? So in your case, you have to write based on the scenario, which is you just came out of the exam room, and how do you feel, right? In this piece here, you can clearly see, right, or feel the emotions of the character. And I gave the character a name. You can as well, right? His name is Timothy. It explains what he is feeling, or how he is feeling, and how he expresses himself after he comes out of that exam room, right, which is your case. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to be mindful of all the details and the scenario when you are writing. Remember to stick on topic, as I was saying before the break. Stick on the topic. So if that means going back, through your paragraph and having to reread the scenario a couple times, please do so, right? So keep the scenario in mind, keep the picture in mind when you are writing your paragraph. So I hope you understand the assignment a little bit better and what we expect from you this week, right? And of course, you can go back and look at this paragraph here and use any phrases or sentences you would like as well in your writing. And I noticed a lot of you, when we were talking about the description of the character, the physical description, and you were given that assignment, some of you did not use the sentences that we gave. So yes, the pieces were great, some of it, while others weren't so much. So hence the reason we are giving you all these examples, because we want you to use them in your writing to make your writing better, to improve your writing, to make it more interesting. So don't be ashamed, don't be shy. Right? Don't feel like we don't want you to use those sentences. We actually do, right? So if you can probably learn one or two from it, memorize it, that will help you probably in your narrative choices when you have a narrative piece, all right? You know it from the top of your head, how can I express, or what can I say about a person's clothes or their physical appearance, right? So that's the reason we are giving you this. We want you to use them, right? So before we go on to description of a creature, I thought I'd mention here, right? Dialogue is a huge part of your narrative style writing, especially for characters. Dialogue, of course, takes place between characters or character, whatever it is in your story. So here, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about using dialogue in stories, right? Why should I use dialogue and dialogue tags when I write? So I'm going to explain to you what are dialogue tags shortly. So dialogue tells the reader who is speaking and how, right? Again, it tells us about the personality of that character. Shows the reader the actions related to what they are saying. It gives the reader more information about the character or characters. Shows the reader what is happening in a scene, right? So all of these here are reasons for you to use dialogue, and we always encourage dialogue in your writing to make your writing more interesting. And when I said dialogue tags, I am actually referring to the verb that describes how the characters are talking, right? So dialogue tags are used to replace the word said. I don't know how many of you remember when we started off creative writing, we looked at a lot of words, you know, boring words or overused words. And one of those overused words was actually the word said, right? So we like to say he said, she said, mommy said, they said, right? Said over and over and over. So we want to replace the word said. And that is actually what we refer to as dialogue tags, right? It's the verb that describes how the characters are talking. So instead of said, you can say agreed or pleaded, he begged, she laughed, they cried, mumbled, sighed, shouted, yelled, or warned. Of course, these are just a few. There are many, many synonyms for the word said. I urge you guys, start learning one or two, right? Change up how you write, change up your vocabulary, try something different, especially to replace the word said, right? That is important for dialogue. And here I have an example for you of dialogue, how it should be written. Harry, come here right now. John commanded, so this is your dialogue tag here. Okay, John, I coming now. So, coming now, now. Harry replied, quivering. So, quivering here again is your dialogue tag. And from these two lines of conversation, what can you tell about Harry and John? So, this is what we mean when we say that your dialogue shows the reader the actions related to what they are saying, and it gives the reader more information about the character, right, and what is happening in the scene. And if you read these two sentences over here, what would you think about Harry, right? What type of person is Harry? What type of person is John, right? So it tells us something about that character without saying it directly, right? And we also spoke about saying something directly and indirectly. You can choose either one to express what your character says, right? But I always tell you that my personal opinion is saying something indirectly because it gets the reader thinking, and it also inspires mystery in your story, right? I have another example here. I don't want to go into that scary house, muttered Caitlin. Please don't make me go in there by myself, replied James. It's way too scary and dark. My parents want me to go home. Maybe tomorrow. I have to think about it, said Caitlin. She walked away knowing that she wouldn't go in that house tomorrow either. She was never going in that house, right? So again, what is this dialogue telling you about Caitlin and James? Also, what I want to mention here, I want you to take a closer look at this dialogue between Harry and John. You would notice here that dialogue starts on a new line in this example provided. So Harry, come here right now, right? John commanded. That's on a one line. That's the dialogue from from John, sorry. And then if you look at the second line, okay, John, this here is the start of what Harry is saying. So you would notice the speaker, John, is on this line. The speaker, Harry, is on another line. As opposed to this example here between Caitlin and James, you'll notice here that dialogue continues along the same line. Now, why I'm telling you this is because sometimes we tell students, or your teachers might tell you, you know, each speaker must go on a new line, right? Or some teachers might also say dialogue can continue along the same line. Now, either is fine, and to my knowledge and from what I know so far, I don't think that you will be penalized for narrative style writing in SCA for using dialogue either ways. But it is, you know, commonly practiced that you have a new speaker on each line, right? So that's what we actually teach at my school. Well, I wouldn't say that for all teachers. Let me take that back. Right, what I would teach, right, you have each new speaker on a new line. But like I said, you should not be penalized if you do have the same speakers on the same line. Right, so I just want to remind you of a few things that we need to follow when writing dialogue. Use quotation marks to indicate the words that are spoken by the characters, right? So you notice your quotation marks here, help me, right? You must have your quotation marks. That's how you can distinguish dialogue, right? Exclaim the girl. You have your dialogue tag here, right? Number 2, begin on a new line when the speaker changes. So this is what I was just telling you about. You can either begin on a new line or you can continue on the same line, right? Please follow the guidelines according to what your teacher is giving you, right? Follow that. I am coming home, Sue announced. I am really tired and can't work anymore. So this example here is actually based on each speaker starting on a new line. Okay, I think you should do that. Her mother agreed. Number 3, ensure that the reader knows who is doing the talking. So you must say, her mother agreed, or Sue announced, or James exclaimed, or whoever. You must give us, or must tell us who is doing the talking, right? You don't want to put any doubt or confusion in your reader's mind. Number 4, use correct punctuation marks and capitalization, right? So, may I buy a new pair of shoes? Of course, your quotation marks are necessary there, but inside you have your question mark, right? Lauren asked her mother, full stop. Lauren is in a capital letter, as it should be, because it's a proper noun, right? I bought a new jacket yesterday, Tammy said. Don't run, shouted the principal. So look at the use of your quotation marks. And I just want to, emphasize on the point that I just said about the speakers. Begin on a new line. Follow the guidelines that are given to you at your school and by your teacher, right? Okay. So now we are going to move on to character description of a creature. So far we covered character description of humans. Now what can we say about creatures, right? And now when I say creatures, what comes to mind immediately, right? What type of characters are you thinking about? Have you written a story in which you use a character, out of this universe or out of the box or something that we don't think of as often, right? Try doing something like that. Try making a story interesting. Let's see how we can do that. Now, these sentences are based on part, size, shape, color, and covering, right? And you're going to see how it explains all of these for a character. The wasp's head was attached to black porcupine-like body, right? So you're thinking of the head of a wasp and attached to a black porcupine-like body. When you think of a porcupine-like body, what are you thinking about, right? Would you like to sit on a porcupine? Why is that body shaped like a porcupine, right? And all of that tells us about the character. A hideous creature crawled out from behind the tree. It was part ape and part scorpion, right? So have you ever seen a creature as such, right? Part ape or part scorpion? What do you think about? What do you think your reader is thinking about reading a description such as this? It makes them want to read even more. They want to find out, well, what type of creature is this? Where did this creature come from? And everything that unfolds behind that. A winged creature with a terrifying, demonic face swooped down from the ceiling, right? Swoop down here is telling us the action of the creature, right? And you can picture that creature, that winged creature, that creature that has wings, of course, right? And how does the face look? Demonic face. When you think of a demonic face, right, that's not pleasant to look at. So that description there, by just saying the word demonic, it tells a whole lot about your character, physical appearance. The island was guarded by a fierce sea monster with an enormous humped serpentine body and a hideous cockroach head. So all of these characters here appear to have 2 heads, right, and some sort of odd body. That's what we want. We want your story to be different, right? So we don't want to read 30 essays or 100 essays, right? And all of the descriptions are the same. Try to think out of the box, okay? I'm encouraging you guys to do so. Its hairy whiskers were long, purple, and twitching, right? The whiskers. So it's telling us there about the face, right? Its hairy whiskers were long, purple, and twitching. The 5-headed monstrous beast was covered in bulging green spots. And here you can even go on to say, well, why the spots were green? What purpose does it serve? And I do hope that if you are saying all of this and you said green spots, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the green spots. you know, maybe it discharges poison or something like that, right? The sun glinted on the sharp spikes sprouting from its legs. Again here, sharp spikes sprouting from its legs. What purpose does the spike serve? So yes, you're telling us the character has spikes, but what is he doing with that spikes? Right? Tell us the purpose of it and what it is being used for. Below the waist, it was covered in black fur, right? And the sentence can go on, of course. So they're telling you there, all the time we were talking about the upper region of the body, right? How the face looks and so on. Here now they're talking about below the waist, it was covered in black fur. And whatever additional information you would like to give as well. Grinning maliciously at him was an ugly little goblin with a sly face and hard leathery skin covered in warts, right? So can you picture such a creature, right? What do you think when they say hard leathery skin covered in warts? What does a wart look like, right? And why would you have a wart? What purpose does that serve for your character? Is it just to scare people, or is it something more than that? Let's talk about the head of this character now, right? Huge folds of sagging skin droop from his long, snarling face. So what sort of face do you picture here? When we say huge folds of sagging skin, right? You can picture what that creature looks like, that all that excess skin on its face, right? It has to be something really huge maybe. Its small, narrow head had a rounded beak like a turtle. So again, you can picture this, a small head had a rounded beak like a turtle. Can you picture the beak of a turtle on a creature's head, right? Two long corkscrew horns grew from its cone-shaped head. So we know this creature has horns, but yes, tell us about those horns, right? Let us see, let us picture, right? We must be able to imagine what is happening here. Rubbery feelers sprouted from his mouth. Good. Stinger-tipped tentacles hung from its enormous wedge-shaped head. So notice here, stinger-tipped. So yes, we know the character has tentacles, but notice this part, stinger-tipped. So without telling us that, you know, it may be poisonous or anything like that, when you tell us stinger-tipped, we are thinking immediately, right? It can actually lead to the victim being poisoned, or some sort of, you know, magical potion comes out of that stinger tip or whatever it may be, right? A stream of venom shot into the air from the blowhole on top of its head. So picture an animal, right, or creature in this case, with a blowhole on top of its head, right? It's not what we traditionally know, but you know that blowhole there can be used to let off some venom, right? It doesn't have to come from spikes or warts or anything like that. In this case, it's different. It opened its mouth to reveal thin, needle-sharp teeth. So we think about needle-sharp, right? Can you put your hand in that creature's mouth? No, may not be able to do that, right? Your hands or limbs or whatever it is may be chopped off immediately. Fangs curled beneath its chin and dribbled with blood from its last kill. So this is a creature here, right, that just attacked maybe you, maybe your best friend, right? And you're telling us how this creature is sitting after attacking this victim. Its forked tongue flickered constantly, tasting the air in search of its prey, right? So you can picture there the tongue, you know, shaped like a fork, so it's separated, almost separated like, and I think you can probably picture what a forked tongue is, flickering, right? So you're immediately thinking danger or something crawling behind you, something like that, maybe a serpent, right? So I want you to think out of the box. That's the idea here. So we are not finished with description of creatures. However, Sir Ijaz has to join us, you know, to talk about and showcase the work of the students as promised. So we're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, Sir Ijaz is going to join us for that segment of today's episode in creative writing. Thank you, guys. I have been your creative writing teacher, and I will see you on Thursday. Stay tuned for Sir Ijaz coming up right after the break.
All right, good evening, guys. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to C Results on IBN TV. And it's that time of the week again where we read some of the submissions of our students on Edmodo. All right, so I hope you all have been paying close attention to what Ms. Nyla has been saying for the last half an hour or so. All right, you do have an assignment that is due on Friday night at 11:59 p.m. All right, and it's a scenario given where you have just written your SEA exam. You know, how are you feeling at that moment? And of course, we hope that all of you all are going to be feeling quite content, quite happy, quite excited for, you know, the journey that would lie ahead of you after that point. And that picture is there to provide you with a guide for how to go about expressing those emotions, all right? So we want you all to visualize, you know, a positive image. So hopefully nobody is going to write anything saying that they'll be sad and unhappy and so on, all right? We don't want that. It's an exercise in creative writing, but it's also to help you visualize that moment in your life that is fast approaching, all right, Standard 5 students? So without further ado, we're going to get now into your submissions that you all would have given us. This would have been due last week, Friday at 11:59 p.m., all right, and it had to do with the description of face or faces, because Ms. Nyla last week covered a lot of examples of faces. You know, she had some images up there of faces, and she showed you all various expressions that can be used, all right? So, of course, you can use hers as a guide in your writing, you know, those lessons that she would have given so far on emotions. You can look back through those segments that had to do with happiness and, you know, excitement, elation, and so on for your homework assignment, all right, or for your Edmodo assignment. And, of course, you are free to express yourself as well, all right? We are giving you all of these tools, all of these various tools, and hopefully I'm going to demonstrate now how it is our assignments have been building week upon week, all right? And they have been influencing now your writing as of this weekend, all right? So these were the instructions for the assignment, all right? We had given you two scenarios. All right, so the first scenario being that you're a young boy or girl living in the 1800s. All right, so you have to use your imagination here. You climb aboard a mysterious vessel and get captured by a group of pirates. All right, this should already be, you know, images should already be popping up into your head. I know that you all would have been exposed a lot to pirates in popular culture, in movies and in cartoons and video games and so on. All right, the angry captain is addressing you in the cellar. Write a paragraph describing the captain's face. How is the captain? The captain is angry. You're in a cellar. You're living in a time that is long past. All right, so how are you going to write a description of the captain's face? All right, and of course, this is, for the parents out there, this is quite difficult because they have to, you know, hone in on this particular element of the captain, which is that face, all right? There's, of course, much more to the pirate, and some of you all did explore some of those other elements or aspects of the physical description of the pirate, all right? But that wasn't wrong per se, but of course, we wanted you to emphasize on those facial features, which Ms. Nyla gave you a lot of information about, all right? And the second scenario, that scenario is you are heading, or you are boarding a flight to Orlando. If you could just zoom in on the instructions there for the second scenario. You are boarding a flight to Orlando with your family to visit Disney World, all right? You are greeted warmly by a friendly flight attendant. Write a paragraph describing the flight attendant's face. Okay, so one of our characters seems to be a bit menacing, that captain aboard the pirate ship, and the other one is a more welcoming character, the character of the flight attendant. So how did our students fare with this assignment? So let's look at one contribution here, all right, and this is by Joshua Barrow, one of our very regular callers, all right. An uneasy feeling filled the room like an ominous cloud as he entered, his boots hitting the wooden floor with a soft squeak every few steps, all right. So an uneasy feeling filled the room like an ominous cloud. Now, before we even get into the facial description of the pirate, all right, remember we have been teaching you all about figurative language, and here's a very very nice use of a simile. An uneasy feeling filled the room like an ominous cloud. All right, so that's very well done, Joshua. All right, his gray, long, woolly beard, accompanied by his eagle-like nose, gave him an inhumane look. All right, so inhumane here, this is a word that might commonly be mixed up with inhuman. All right, so there are some words in the English language that look very similar, but they have sometimes very different meaning, sometimes slightly different meaning. All right, in this instance, I believe Joshua is trying to say that he's looking not like a human, right? So in this case, a better word would have been inhuman and not inhumane, because inhumane really carries the connotation or the meaning of being, having a lack of compassion or a lack of care. All right, so gave him an inhuman look, but again, we applaud the effort. All right, his name was Captain Scarf. All right, it seemed as though a bat with its wings stretched out was behind his head, but it was his ears. All right, okay, so for our viewers out there, of course, we know that some of these sentences perhaps could be structured a little differently. Punctuation sometimes might be a little bit off, but as we emphasize every week, we are trying to build our students' confidence in writing creatively and using their imagination and in the application of the rules, and of those tips and tricks that Ms. Nyla is giving. All right, but all in all, these paragraphs that I've selected, for the most part, there's one example that I have at the end that, wasn't really following the instructions too well, and I'll talk more about that afterwards. All right, but we want to highlight here the creativity and the attempt to use the various methods and the various examples that are given. All right, so don't be too harsh on them at home if you are spotting some grammatical errors, some punctuation errors. Yes, we are aware as well. And we give that feedback in the Edmodo app directly to the students, all right? So, to continue, his name was Captain Scarf. It seemed as though a bat with its wings stretched out was behind his head, but it was his ears, all right? So a lot of students used the bat-like ears in their description, all right? So students, you will just be aware that ears don't necessarily have to be bat-like. It's not the only thing that you can use, all right? Perhaps Ms. Nyla might give you some more examples, and I'm sure that she did in those slides on the face. All right, there would have been other examples of ways to describe ears, but fair enough, this is a pirate. All right, so he has bat-like ears. As his glare landed on me, his eyes stabbed through my soul, causing my heart to race with fear. Wow, Joshua, I want to commend you, for this particular sentence. As his glare landed on me, his eyes stabbed through my soul, causing my heart to race with fear. So this pirate has piercing eyes. And this is a great use of figurative language to say that the pirate has piercing eyes. All right, so his eyes stabbed through my soul, all right, causing my heart to race with fear. Very well done there. All right, that's a metaphor. Of course, the heart didn't actually stab through his soul, all right? His mouth was a treasure chest filled with gold in contrast to the dark clothes he wore. All right, dark like his soul. Now, the first part of the sentence, his mouth was a treasure chest filled with gold. Now, what I really liked about this sentence, Joshua, all right, a lot of our students alluded to this gold teeth being in the mouth of the pirate, all right? But what is really nice about this metaphor here is that pirates, as we know, are famously associated for being, plunderers and marauders looking for treasure, buried treasure, trying to take someone's treasure away from them. All right, so what a magnificent way to describe the gold teeth in this pirate's mouth, to liken it to something that pirates actually are associated with. All right, so, maybe some readers may not have even thought, a second time about that, but it really did stand out to me. All right, so he's describing pirates, he's describing the gold teeth, and he likened it, all right, or he literally called it, which is a metaphor in this case, a treasure chest filled with gold, in contrast to the dark clothes he wore, dark like his soul. All right, so wow, Joshua Barrow, congratulations, that was very well written indeed. All right. So now we have a paragraph about our flight attendant. Okay, so it begins, and the submission is by Zaria James. She says, "Welcome," the pretty flight attendant exclaimed, and of course, this is direct speech, so it should have been in quotation marks, but again, you know, we're focusing here on the creativity aspect, but please take note of that, Zaria. As she warmly greeted my family and I into the single-engine plane. All right, we were excited as we were going to Orlando to visit Disney World. I was immediately captivated by the flight attendant's beautiful beige-colored face. All right, her nose sat squarely between her slant, blue, welcoming eyes, which twinkled like stars on a bright night. All right, so her eyes are twinkling like stars on a bright night. So again, the first set of assignments that we gave on creative writing, Ms. Nyla taught you all how to structure a basic paragraph, all right, and the elements of a paragraph, you know, about your opening and concluding sentences and your supporting details and so on. All right, we continued, we progressed more, we learned more about adjectives, more about adverbs. Okay, we learned about transition words, all right, various types of transition words. We learned about figurative language, and now we're learning about physical descriptions, and we've already passed that, and we have gone on now to emotions, all right? So look at, if you were to go back to those paragraphs in the earliest classes that we would have had, and look at those basic paragraphs, and we've noticed that even though we are not telling you explicitly to use those tools that we have already covered in the past few weeks, that you are doing so, all right? And this is something that is wonderful, and we really want to commend you all for doing that. That was our intention, all right? We teach you different elements to make your writing more enjoyable, to make your writing more reader-friendly, more engaging, and you are doing that, all right? So well done, all right? The use of the figurative language and also describing the facial features of our characters, all right? So we continue. Her welcoming eyes which twinkle like stars on a bright night. Great. The freckles on her pale cheeks were sprinkled like confetti. All right, that's another very nice piece of figurative language there. Again, likening the freckles on her face to confetti. All right. And a small giggle escaped her red pouty lips. I'm sure my brother had told her one of his 1,000,001 silly jokes, right? So she's just sticking in there a bit of hyperbole, which we also covered before, all right? Unless her brother literally has 1,000,001 silly jokes, probably not, all right? So here was a flowing golden river, all right? So lovely use of metaphor here. So here was a flowing golden river as a light wind played on it, exposing her small but bat-like ears, all right? So, all right, the bat-like ears probably did not fit really with the tone of the character that she's describing, all right? But, I mean, it's possible as well. So, students, bear in mind, don't overuse the bat-like one when you're describing ears, all right? Yes, it might be applicable sometimes, all right, but there are other descriptions as well. All right, I know she was going to make our journey fun. So well done, Zaria. This was very, very well done. All right, so much use of all of the techniques and tools that Ms. Nyla has given to you over the last couple of weeks, and it's very wonderfully executed. All right, so I have here, so we did one with the pirate, we did one with the flight attendant, we are back on the pirate now, all right? So this one is submitted by Music Alexander, a very hard-working student on our Edmodo app. All right, Captain, we put him down in the hatch, exclaimed a petite individual with long, curly, unclipped nails as he threw me into a cellar. Girl, give me all your treasure, mate, grunted a man with cavity-ridden, unbrushed, and stained teeth, together with mucky skin and with a long, pitch-black, ungroomed, and uncombed, matted black beard. Wow, all right, so, okay, so sometimes we might try to put a bit too much into one sentence, all right? That sentence is a bit, you know, is a bit much to take in all at once, but of course, we applaud the effort, Music, all right, by trying to be as descriptive as possible. So unbrushed and stained teeth, all right, murky skin, okay, and a long pitch black, long again, you know, repeating the word long there, and uncombed matted black beard, all right. He was a palm tree tall and plump man, all right. He had devilish red eyes and 3 scars on his face that looked like he had seen many battles. All right, he had devilish red eyes and 3 scars on his face that looked like he had seen many battles, okay. He had a long wide nose that spread across his face like butter. All right, very original here, music. All right, I have never heard, perhaps other teachers may have, but this one is new to me. He had a long wide nose that spread across his face like butter. All right. Also, when he gave me a grimace, I observed his discolored teeth that shined into the world, which made me feel to puke. All right, music. And I was terrified yet curious to be in the presence of Captain Blackbeard. All right, so what I want to applaud music for in this particular paragraph, you know, is the boldness in his writing, the use of, you know, descriptions and things that he relates to, all right, and that he found appropriate. And of course, it was not bad at all. Some of those sentences were a bit, as Ms. Nyla would have explained to you about run-on sentences, that could be fragmented and broken up some more. But overall, you know, he really tried to press home that point of this captain of this pirate ship being, you know, a repulsive type of figure, one that's scary, one that you don't really want to be, you know, mixed up with. All right, so music, we thank you for that contribution indeed. All right, okay, we have another contribution here by Dakare F. All right, and this one is again about the flight attendant. All right, so I was boarding a flight with my family to Orlando when suddenly a woman who seemed like a skyscraper bent over and greeted me warmly. All right, so this is a tall flight attendant. The egg-headed woman seemed friendly. All right, so for me, the reason why I wanted to highlight this, you know, overall, it's really well written. But when you're trying to picture this character now, what is the picture being painted, all right? If I had to tell you to sketch this picture based on the description, all right, although, you know, his use of descriptive language and the grammar and so on is pretty well done, so I commend you for that, Dakare. All right, we want to paint a kind of consistent picture, all right? So let's read on. The egg-headed woman seemed friendly. Her face was peach in color with red lipstick flooding over her lips, all right? I like the particular use there of, you know, saying that the lipstick was flooding over her lips, and her eyes had a dark blue color in them. Her mouth widely opened, showing a grin so wide that she could eat a banana sideways. And this is really the reason, one of the main reasons I wanted to include this piece. You know, sometimes it's nice to lighten the mood with a little bit of humor in your writing. All right, that's a very unique way to describe somebody with a broad mouth. All right, her mouth widely open, showing a grin so wide that she could eat a banana sideways. She turned her head slightly, showing a long strand of gray hair sticking out of her pimple. All right, so you're reading this and you're not 100% sure about, you know, how this character is fitting into this story. Of course, all we have here so far is just a description of her face, but we know it's a tall character with an egg-shaped head, all right, peach in color, red lips, a really wide mouth, and this pimple sticking out, this hair sticking out of her pimple, all right? So overall, he did describe this character, even though it might be a bit difficult for us to picture such a character. The paragraph, you know, it flowed, it used some descriptive language there, all right, and it was very curious reading, all right. So overall, I can't say that it's wrong because it's his character that he's describing, all right, and or she, I'm not sure, Dakare, or maybe Dakarai. So well done overall. All right, but just make sure that your character, yes, although you can write characters that are out there a bit, but sometimes, you know, it might not seem to flow, it might not seem, the consistency might be a little bit off, all right, but overall the execution of the techniques, you know, the descriptive language and so on, the examples that Mr. Hyla would have been giving you, all right, we can see it coalescing here in this description, even though it might not paint a very, cogent picture of this flight attendant. So I still want to commend this piece of writing, all right? Now I'm fast running out of time, so I just wanted to pull up this final example here, which actually, is not a paragraph. All right, so notice we've left off the name here. We don't want to be, bringing any shame upon anyone, make anyone feel bad or anything like that. But if you know your paragraph was like this, all right, you have to know that a paragraph can't be one sentence to begin with, all right? So on that cold Monday afternoon in the airport, all right, a kind flight attendant with a smooth face, glittering eyes, pointy nose, and a full-grown mustache guided us to the aircraft. Now, there are a lot of commas here that aren't necessary, all right? And again, everything is tried to be, or the writer is trying to cram everything into one sentence, all right? We need to break this up. There are different elements of the face, different, things that make up the face of a person, their eyes, their mouth, their ears, their hair, their skin. Maybe they might have, well, in the case of a male, it might have facial hair and so on. All right, so you have a lot of different elements of the face that you could have emphasized. All right, so please bear that in mind when you are writing, okay? We need to be able to stick to our instructions. All right, and if you're wondering how is it that your child can get involved and get practicing and see their writing improve as the time goes on, all right, we invite you to visit edmodo.com or to download the Edmodo app and to use the code 6KJQ3Y, all right, register your child as a student, and every week we post assignments, quizzes, and creative writing assignments on English language, on math, and creative writing for your child or your ward to get practice for the SAA exam. All right, if you haven't yet registered, please do so. All right, we also back all of our videos up onto Facebook automatically. When the live has ended, it will be there under the videos tab, so you can watch all of our videos if you've missed them. All right, and we also have a YouTube channel called C Results, so you can look for that on YouTube, and all of our episodes are uploaded there within about a day or two for the max. All right, so you have access to all of our material. If today is the first day you're joining in, that's fine. You can always catch up at your own convenience, all right? So that's about it for today. I have been, well, assisting Ms. Naila today with creative writing. My name is Sir Ijaz Ram Sahai, and it has been a pleasure reading your work. All right, of course, we had lots more, but, with the time permitting, we did the best that we could, and we hope that the feedback was beneficial to all. And we do hope to see you again on Thursday as we continue with maths and creative writing again at 5 p.m. here on IBN TV, on the IBN TV Facebook page and the C Results Facebook page. Thank you for viewing, and do join us on Thursday. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum.